Hey, Rhett. So I've seen this come up several times. So I'd love your take on this. Like, how do you know if a business really needs to be reinvented? What does it mean? Could it be a danger? I've seen entrepreneurs, they love to create something new or break it and start over, sometimes at their own peril. How do you know if that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, great question. First I would say don't confuse reinvention with shiny object syndrome. Reinvention really means identifying where the market is shifted or where your business model maybe no longer is working and then adjusting to that. So signals might be you're no longer consistently profitable, or maybe your customers have just moved on. Danger, yes, I would say there's a clear and present danger. And you're right, entrepreneurs do like to build. They like to build new things. Reinvention should be profit driven and not maybe ego driven.
So this came up recently, actually just last week, and I've heard this question before. My sales are growing, but profit margins aren't expanding at the same rate. Like, how do you figure out what's going on?
I love this saying, revenue is for your ego and profit is for your family. If revenue's up and your margins are flat or maybe even shrinking, you definitely have leaks. I would start with these three things. I would first start with pricing. Are you undercharging or discounting? Both of those are pretty slippery slopes. I would look at operations and in particular your cost of goods, especially we all live in a business and political climate right now where costs are unpredictable, but some are definitely rising. Look for rising costs. Then third, I would look at your client mix, right? Are you saying yes rather to unprofitable customers? And the fix is really, I don't call it profit first audit. So I would trace every dollar that goes out the door and compare it to value deliver and then cut or reprice accordingly. So you might ask, for every expense, does this help me find, land, or keep a customer? And if no, I would say it's likely a candidate for cutting. By the way, on this topic, fun fact, it's easier to improve your profit margins than it is to grow your top line revenue. I would encourage everyone to dig into your margins.
What are the KPIs that I should be looking at to track success in my business or health of my business?
There are really three key areas I encourage people to watch. Your gross profit margin rate helps you understand if your pricing and costs are under control.
Now,
Look at your customer acquisition costs versus your lifetime value. Are you buying customers profitably? And then your operating cash flow, because cash, not revenue, is what keeps us alive. That's where I'd start.
should a business diversify their offering, their services, or how do you understand the opportunities that are in the market? Any thoughts on this point?
I think diversification sounds sexy, and this might be a broad brushstroke, but I do think most businesses diversify too early. If their core product isn't maxed out, but then consistently hitting high profits and great market share, if that's not happening, then just adding new things, I think is really just going to add complexity. But to counter, I think the right time looked more like having a stable, profitable, systemized current offer. And then you can test new opportunities too by asking, does this leverage strengths we already have, or will it be more profitable than what we already do? The answer is no, then I would say it's likely going to be a distraction.
Do you find that some people, it's almost equally that maybe you should minimize or reduce the offerings? Is that equally a thing to look at or less?
Yeah. We're always throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? To see what sticks. It was earlier this summer. I went through an exercise myself and I realized I just had this scatter shot of all of these offers everywhere. It lacked clarity, lacked
Right.
focus. So yeah, I think in offers that can show up that way. I burned through a whole bunch of money a couple of years ago trying to launch 3 different businesses at once.
Hmm.
The hard lesson about focus. I was trying to diversify. And what I learned is that I just created noise
Yeah.
and chaos around myself instead of being crystal clear about the one thing that mattered.
This has happened, I think, this year. I've seen it a few times with conversations with clients is that profits are declining. They can see it. So not necessarily trying to figure out what's going on. They see profits are declining. Any sort of fast track ways to identify some of the root causes here you've seen?
Yeah, it's like triage and an ER. Yeah, I think you have to rule out the big three, right? You have to Just observe, is your revenue platter declining? Are costs increasing? Has your client mix shifted maybe towards maybe low margin work? Probably a way to say that. I would also pull your P&L, compare it to the last 12 months, and then ready and circle the big changes in your P&L. And I think that's going to really lead you to your root cause, why that's happening to you. And the key here really is just to make decisive, immediate corrective action, right? Do you need to raise prices and figure out what it means to raise them? Do you need to cut one or more costs? Then figure out which of those you need to cut. Do you need to replace an unprofitable client, right? But again, don't overcomplicate it. Be crisp and decisive. And I think once you stop the bleeding, then you can take a longer term strategic view of your world and figure out what you need to sort out. But in the again, I would focus on stopping the bleeding.
Gotcha. How far back should we look? Could you start with 12 months or do you go further? Like how far back should you look at this?
I think context really matters, depends upon your business and what industry you're in and market and a bunch of factors. But unless you were at 0 12 months ago, I think
Right.
12 months gives you a great starting point.